All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we take one more look at Niners Packers in advance of Sunday's tilt at Lambeau Field. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Get some brisket chili. Go say hi to Damon and Mary and tell them that Larry Krueger sent you. And we're also brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Mancini's is a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. And we love Mancini's, and they are fantastic. In fact, here we go. Hey, we're brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Mancini's offers a 120-night guarantee with a range of brands and price points. With Mancini's, you get free next-day delivery. Click the link below or go to sleepworld.com. Find a bed that works for you, whether shopping online or visiting in-store. Use the code KRUG10, and you'll get 10% off. That's right, 10% off if you use KRUG10. Here it is at the bottom of the screen. If you use the code KRUG10, in any Mancini store, you're going to get 10% off or online at sleepworld.com. Thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, let's talk a little bit about the 49ers and the Packers. Niners and Packers go at Lambeau on Sunday. Niners badly need a win, and they're going to have to do it shorthanded. All right, the 49ers made some announcements on Saturday. They have promoted Tayshaun Gibson from the practice squad to the active roster. So Gibson is going to be playing. And they've promoted both Jalen Graham and Nick McLeod from the practice squad as well. Standard elevations. So there you go. And they put Tatum Bethune on injured reserve. And then John Feliciano his game status has been downgraded from questionable to out. So Feliciano's out. Tatum Bethune is on IR. Jalen Graham and Nick McLeod picked off the practice squad, and they're active. Tayshaun Gibson picked off the practice squad, promoted from the active squad, or from the practice squad. He's active as well. So there you go. 49ers looking to add a few extra players. Now let's talk a little bit about this one. Niners are 5-5. They're currently the 10 seed in the NFC. They just lost to Seattle last week and coughed up another game in the division, third one this year. Green Bay, on the other hand, is 7-3. And they're currently the 6th seed in the NFC. The interesting thing is both these teams have scored the same number of points, 250 points. Niners defense has given up 9 more points than Green Bay's defense. Niners offense has gained 108 more yards than Green Bay's offense. Green Bay has forced 3 more turnovers defensively than the Niners have on defense. It's really interesting. If you look at the Niners and the Packers, they've played 13 one-possession games combined. Green Bay's 5-2 in those games, and the 49ers are 2-4 in those games. Green Bay's defense, the strength is the secondary at this point. They got 4 number 1 picks on their defensive line. So that can't be, you can't laugh at that defensive line. Rashawn Gary's a monster. He's 280 pounds. Lucas Van Ness is the other defensive end. Kenny Clark is a accomplished player in his own right, and Devontae Wyatt is a pretty good player too. So all those guys are 4 number 1s. They do have a couple injuries on the defensive side. Edgerrin Cooper, the rookie linebacker from A&M, is out with a hamstring that he pulled on Wednesday. Jair Alexander is also out of this game. He's one of the best corners in football. But if you look at this Packers team defensively, they've forced 19 takeaways, third most in the NFL. Xavier McKinney came over from the Giants, and he's been awesome. I think he's had 8 of the 19 takeaways all by himself. And we'll see, if the 49ers, can take care of the football. The Niners offense has not been turnover prone this year. They only have 13 turnovers, which is 13th fewest in the league. Green Bay's defense, though, when they get turnovers, they typically get them in bunches. Their defense has forced at least 3 turnovers 5 times this year already. That's the most in the NFL. How about that? They have 15 turnovers in 5 games. I mean, that's 15 takeaways, I should say. Green Bay's offense is also pretty good. They scored 24 points or more 7 times this year. That's the 4th most in the NFL. They're struggling to score in the red zone. They've had a lot of penalties in the red zone. They've struggled to run the ball in the red zone. But their Green Bay's defense is 10th in points allowed. They only give up 21.3 a game. And Green Bay's offensive line has been really good at protecting Jordan Love. They've allowed the fewest sacks of any team in the NFL. And they come into this game playing well. They've won 5 out of 6. and they're taking on a Niner defense that has struggled to get off the field on third downs and won't have Nick Bosa. The Niners last week gave up 3 yards a play with Bosa, 6.1 without him. So it's going to be really interesting to see if Nick Sorensen, dials up blitzes and some key third downs and whether or not they can get home. The guy that you really got to worry about if you're the 49ers on the defensive side is Christian Watson. He's coming off a 150-yard day against the Bears. He's a big play waiting to happen. He's big and he's fast, and they like to throw it to him down the field. The Niners' run defense is pretty good. It really is a pretty good run defense. They got Josh Jacobs this week, but they held Kenneth Walker to under 4 yards a carry last week. It's going to be interesting to see what CMC has. He has not looked very good in his first 2 games back from Achilles tendonitis. This is game 3 as he rounding into form. Green Bay struggles to stop the run. So with Brandon Allen starting at quarterback for Brock Purdy, I would expect a heavy dose of the run game. DeAndre Swift averaged 5 yards a carry for the Bears last week, and they couldn't stop Caleb Williams from running either. So the Niners' key on defense is they're going to have to cover Josh Jacobs out of the backfield. Last week, Geno Smith completed 9 passes in 9 attempts against Fred Warner and Devondre Campbell in coverage. If it was me, I'd bench Campbell for D. Winters. They're not going to do it because Campbell is going up against his former team in this game. Good news for the Niners on the injury front. They may not have Bosa. They may not have Purdy, and Trent Williams is a game-time decision, and they won't have Mooney Ward either. But the Niners will have George Kittle back, and that's big because they're 0-2 this year when Kittle hasn't played, and they will get him back. Juwan Jennings has been the number 1 guy for the Niners. The last 2 weeks, he's had a 35% target share and back-to-back 90-yard performances. He's going to be looking for another big performance in this game. The one thing that you're going to expect with Green Bay, they run a lot of 12 personnel, which is 2 tight ends when they're leading in the game. They'll use Kraft. Musgrave's hurt, but they'll go to 2 tight ends when they have the lead. They shift a lot to 11 personnel to 3 wides when they fall behind, and it's just that they're a little bit more of a downfield passing attack when they fall behind. Their offense runs a lot of screens. They run the play action game really well. They're going to force the 49ers to rally up and tackle against their running back in the screen game. Green Bay can run the ball. They rank 4th in the league in rushing yards per game. They average 149.9 rushing yards per game. I mentioned Watson is their most explosive receiver, but they've got Romeo Doubs. They've got Dontavion Wicks. They've got Jaden Reed. They've got Tucker Kraft. I mean, this team's loaded. They got all kinds of weapons. But Watson averages 19.1 yards per reception. So he's the 3rd leading receiver on the Packers in yards with 383. But he does have the ability to stretch the field and go vertical. So he is a vertical threat for sure. That's going to be something to watch for. Niners have to be aware of where Xavier McKinney is in the passing game. He leads the team in interceptions with 6, second most in the NFL. He's got 7 pass deflections. He's really, really good. And then Kenny Clark is a force in the middle. There's no question. He's got 20 total tackles on the year, 11 solo, 2 TFLs. He's got a fumble recovery. This guy gets off of blocks. He can rush the passer. He can stop the run. He's an all-around player. The Niners, interestingly enough, are usually pretty good off a loss this year. They're 3-1 off a loss, but they won't have Brock Purdy. The Packers are only 2-3 against winning teams, and Jordan Love has had at least 1 pick in 9 games. So it's not like Green Bay. There's no way the 49ers are going to win this game. The 49ers have a chance to win this game. We had Bill Huber on earlier in the week, and he writes the Packers article on SI. And he wrote an article, 3 reasons why the Packers will lose to the 49ers. I thought that was interesting. His first reason is that the Niners have the yards after the catch. George Kittle is a yards after the catch monster. Debo is a yards after the catch monster. Jordan Mason's physical. CMC can make yards after the catch. Without Brock Purdy, they're going to want to, Shanahan's going to want to scheme up as many easy completions for Brandon Allen as possible. He's going to try to lean on his playmakers and get the ball out of his hand. Kittle averages 7.1 yards after catch per catch during his career and ranks 2nd among tight ends and missed tackles this year, according to PFF. So he's one of the best at his position. Debo's averaged 9.5 yards after the catch in his career, 7.7 this year. McCaffrey has over 4,000 yards after catch yards in his 8 seasons in the NFL. So Huber thinks this could be a mismatch here because only 3 teams have missed more tackles this year than the Green Bay Packers. So if Brandon Allen can get the ball out quickly to the playmakers, and maybe Green Bay misses a bunch of tackles and the Niners pile up all kinds of yards after the catch. Number 2, his reason is McCaffrey and Jordan Mason. He says with a healthy McCaffrey leading the NFL in rushing yards, and total touchdowns last year, the Niners ranked 3rd in the NFL in rushing yards per game, 4th in rushing yards per carry. So, and he mentions how CMC has struggled since he came back. In his 2 games since coming back, he's only averaged 3.7 yards per carry, and he's only broken 2 tackles. But a lot of people feel, the way Bill feels, that it's just a matter of time before CMC bust out. So last year he won the rushing title by almost 300 yards. He had 929 yards after contact, 60 broken tackles. Last year in the playoff game against Green Bay, he carried 17 times for 98 yards. He had 74 yards after contact and forced 9 missed tackles. So, that's the thing. I mean, Jordan Mason has only had 3 carries the last 2 weeks, but he's 7th in the league at 5.13 yards per carry. So if you look at last week, and this is an area where I do think this is an area where the Niners could win the game. Run the ball. I mean, seriously, do I have to be any more deliberate and not subtle than that? Run the GD ball. The Packers were gouged for 179 rush yards by the Bears last week. So McCaffrey, Mason, Guerendo, run the ball. Run the ball 65% of the time. This team potentially can't stop the run. If you can run the ball as effectively this week as the Bears ran it last week, you might be able to beat Green Bay on the road without Brock Purdy. That's the Niners' reality. It's not a big chance, but it's a chance. And then the third reason that Bill says the Packers are going to lose to the Niners is Jordan Love's interceptions. He says Jordan Love's missed 2.5 games, but he's tied for the NFL lead with 11 interceptions. He's thrown at least 1 in all 8 of his starts. The Niner defense, on the other hand, is 7th in the NFL with 11 interceptions. 9 players have at least 1. Fred Warner has 2. Last year against Green Bay in the playoffs, they picked off Love twice. So that's really a big key. Can the 49ers intercept, can they intercept Jordan Love? The 49ers this year are 4-0 when they win the turnover battle. If they win the turnover battle, they have a chance to win. So there you go. And Bill's pretty sharp. So he gave 3 reasons why the Packers can potentially lose this game. This is going to be a tough game for sure. I won't make a 49ers are going to win prediction, but I don't think the 49ers are going to get embarrassed. I think they're going to come, show up, they're going to battle. And if they're +1 or +2 on the turnover table, I think they win. If they're even or -1 or -2, they're going to lose. I really think it's as simple as that. Run the ball. Run the ball a lot. Dominate time of possession. Protect your thin defensive line that won't have Nick Bosa. Run the ball. That's the ticket to victory. All right. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Mancini's for sponsoring this video. Thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.